Hello everybody, it's Jack and welcome back to another video. And if you're watching this and if you stumble upon this video, it's simply because of the fact that, well, you need some help with Halo 5, whether you play different kinds of first-person shooters or whether you're just trying to figure out how the hell to get better at this game. And let me assure you that I was pretty much on that same category, so to speak, and I've just implemented actually a little bit over a handful of things into my game, and that made the absolute difference. And without, blindsiding you guys or just wasting your time with any more commentary as of right now, I'm just going to get right into this. Now, the first tip I want to give you that will help your game instantly, and all these things, especially put together, are going to help you instantly get better, is number one, when you're starting out, do not go anywhere alone. That is the biggest mistake that most people do, and it's the biggest mistake that I used to do. This is not Call of Duty. Being alone is not going to help you. As a matter of fact, in this game, it's going to do the exact opposite. So you want to stay close to your teammates. Now, when I mean stay close to your teammates, I don't mean stay close to them like glue, like stick up against them or anything. I'm like, no, know where they are and stay reasonably close, and yet at the same time reasonably far, because as you guys know, Halo is not just a close-up game, it's a distance game as well. You can be just as effective as at a distance with just about any gun, as well as up close. So you guys need to understand that it's very important to know where your teammates are and stay reasonably close to them, because that's where most engagements are going to happen. They're going to be team-on-team engagements. There's not going to be as many one-on-one engagements. All right, so remember, stay close to your teammates. And if you're wondering where the enemy's going to be, they're going to be at power-ups and at power weapons, from the get-go at least, and especially when they're about to spawn, which the game lets you know. And that's two ways to tell where the enemy's going to be. And that's going to be where your teammates are going to be, and it's also going to be where the power-ups and the power weapons are going to be. So those are very, very important things to keep in mind when you play this game, because it's really important to know where the enemy's going to be at and where your teammates are at, because you do not want to be anywhere alone unless it's a very specific situation to where you can flank behind them, which doesn't really happen that often, but sometimes it does, and that's why you want to be reasonably close, but at the same time reasonably far. Alright, so let's move on to the next one, and I briefly mentioned it already, power weapons and power-ups. From the very get-go, that's where the teams on the opposite side, on the enemy, are going to be at. They're going to go for power-ups and they're going to go for power weapons, and that's where most first engagements take place. And that's where usually, if your team knows what they're doing, and that's not always the case, by the way, if your team knows and has an idea of what they're doing, well, basically they're going to be going for those power weapons and those power-ups, and it's really, really important to give them cover as well. And believe me, they're going to need it, because the opposite team is going to be there. Oh, and one more thing. If you happen to see one of your teammates going somewhere alone and the rest of your teammates are going in one direction, what I would do is I would go and give that one teammate cover. Now, obviously, you don't have to do this. You can go with the other two teammates. But it's really important to not let one teammate go anywhere alone, because, quite frankly, it could cause some problems. And at the same time, if you want to flank and that's what that teammate is doing, you can help them. And obviously, two people are better than one, as you guys know in this game. Remember, this is not Call of Duty. Alright, speaking of weapons, power weapons and power-ups, you get a chance to use them, you use them. So, anything from a railgun to the sniper rifle or anything like that, use it. Why not? And practice will make you perfect. And if you're not that good with a sniper rifle, and if your teammate is better at it, or if you don't trust your judgment with the sniper rifle in your own hands, then that's fine. At least provide cover so that way one of your teammates can get it, and therefore giving you guys the upper hand, because it is a power weapon if you kill 1 to 2 shots, one being a headshot, 2 body shots. Alright, one other thing that I wanted to discuss is the power-ups. Power-ups are extremely important, especially if you're a player that is learning the ropes. Whether it's camo or whether it's overshield, it does come in handy, and they are extraordinarily, extraordinarily powerful. And if you see anybody that has one of these, keep your distance, especially if it's an overshield. If it's an overshield, you're already at a disadvantage, unless you have a power weapon to counter it. So keep that in mind as well. Next thing I want to discuss is proper shooting. Now, using your smart scope or aiming down your sights or whatever you want to call it, believe it or not, it doesn't happen that often in this game. Only if somebody is extraordinarily far, or if you have a sniper rifle, do you want to use that. Usually firing from the hip is obviously just as accurate as it ever was, but you really don't need to use your smart scope, so don't overuse your smart scope, especially in close distance encounters. And another thing is you want to use your left stick to strafe shoot and to aim. Do not use your right stick too much. You only want to use your right stick for making slight adjustments when aiming. So if somebody's strafing to the left, strafe to the left with them using your left stick, and the same thing when going to the right. And again, you don't have to use your smart scope while doing this, and as a matter of fact, I recommend you don't do it, because aiming from the hip is just as accurate. Plus, you get a view of your minimap while shooting when you're aiming from the hip, and also you get to see what is going on around you simultaneously. So if you need to do any changes, if you need to strafe, or if you need to move somewhere to where you're going to be in danger because you're outnumbered for a brief period of time, you can simultaneously see that while simultaneously firing from the hip. So Smart Scope, only use it when somebody's at an absolute crazy distance away, and if you have a sniper rifle as well. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Grenades. Grenades can be used in both offensive and defensive purposes. Okay, so for instance, let's say you're going to a power-up weapon at the beginning of the match, or a power-up ability like camo, for instance, right? And if the other enemy team is going to be there, what you want to do is you want to throw a grenade towards that area to see if you have an enemy team, the enemy team nearby. And if you see a hit marker coming up, so that's how you know that they're going to be there, so you might want to hold your distance. What you can also do is you can also use a grenade to kind of keep them away while you pick up the power weapon or the power up ability. Also, let's say for a defensive purpose, let's say you're alone because your other teammates got shot, or you made a mistake by going somewhere alone. And let's say you put a couple of rounds into a guy, but all of a sudden, wham bam, 3 other people, come charging in at you. And they took a few shots at you, and more than one person is shooting at you, and you're basically one shot away from being dead. And you're running around the corner. Throw a grenade right behind you so that way they stop from coming around the corner because grenades are going to go off. Grenades are extraordinarily powerful, so make sure you use them for both offensive and defensive purposes. Remember, if you see grenades anywhere on the ground, pick them up. You can always use more. They're extraordinarily powerful, extraordinarily useful. And if you don't use them, you're basically wasting them. And you do not waste grenades, at least not in Halo at least. Obviously, you guys know as far as basics are concerned, when somebody's shields are down, and if you get a chance to melee them up close, melee them. That's obviously very good. And one other thing that I want to mention is the minimap. Sometimes, for some reason, when somebody's sprinting at you, the minimap doesn't always show them until like the last second, and by then it's too late. I don't know what that's all about, but one thing that obviously people do is they crouch a lot when they're running, when they're in a certain area all over the place, which keeps them off the minimap. So let's say you know that you're basically in the enemy's spawn, for instance, and you happen to be alone, or you're outnumbered from where you are in that certain position. If you happen to be in that position, crouching for a certain period of time until you're in the clear, until you get into a better position, or until you can flank them effectively, is something that's definitely a good idea. Or if you have, like, let's say a shotgun and you're running and they saw you, and then you manage to crouch right behind something, because you got out of their distance, and then they come running at you, and then all of a sudden, bam, you pop up and you shoot them right in the face. That is something that definitely helps. And it's a really good defensive tool, especially when you're low on shields and you're behind something and then you manage to sprint away. Crouching right behind a wall is not a bad idea, and it keeps you off the minimap. So, and a lot of times the enemies will think that you're not there anymore, and even if that's 50% of the time, that's 50% of the time that is better for you. And one other thing that I want to say is don't oversprint. Oversprinting is something that is absolutely... It's something that can get you killed in this game because of the way this game works and the way the team-on-team combat works. Remember, a lot of engagements that you're going to get into are going to be team-on-team engagements. That's just the way Halo works. You're not going to get in too many one-on-one engagements. And when you do, one other thing that I want to tell you is have confidence in yourself. Have absolute confidence in yourself that you need to win that gunfight. And do not run away mid-gunfight. It's just a way to get you killed. The only time you want to run away mid-gunfight is when you have a decent amount of shields, at least half, and if you see more than one of them are coming at you, because you're at a disadvantage there as it is. But if you're low on shields and you're about to die in one shot, and they're about to die in one shot, you might as well just stick with the gunfight and go for the kill. And if you're in a one-on-one engagement, that's something you should always do, because if you back out mid-gunfight, that's just a sure way to get you killed. At least 80% of the time. So those are odds that you don't want. So anyway, with that being said, guys, I hope this video helped you out. And remember, these things are not going to help improve your game unless you practice them and implement them. You do that, they're going to help you out a lot. Even implementing one of these things is going to help you out a lot. But if you implement all of them at the same time, they are definitely going to help you out majorly from the get-go, from the game that you start implementing them. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay and the commentary. If you liked the video, let me know. And if you don't, let me know what I can do to make my videos better. And always leave it down in the comment section if this helped you out. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.